Hello and welcome to the post-match analysis. India has taken an unassailable lead. It's the Rohit Sharma era. Ever since he's taken on captaincy, he's won 5 matches. I've been told that apparently this is India's 11th successive series, bilateral series win against West Indies since 2007. So lots going for India in terms of the ODI series. Obviously, in terms of batting, not necessarily the best day, but I think as they say that if you can still scrape your way through and find a way to believe, and I think Joyinda was talking earlier in the day about that sense of belonging, and there's so much talk about some of these youth who kind of came, and probably these moments will make them feel that they belong. And good to see a good all-round performance, and India has done well. Clearly, not that I'm surprised that there's a big gulf between India and West Indies in terms of the quality, but good to see that India has kind of crossed the line. Jayanta, welcome. Let's talk at an overall level. What's your view of the two games, today's match? How do you feel about the series so far?
Thanks, Mantik. See, we've won the series. It's all great. But I think the real lessons are in the South Africa series. And with all utmost due respect to West Indies, this is not the strongest side. You will not be able to win games with 240 on Ahmedabad wicket against the top sides. That's just not going to happen. So, lessons to be learned. I still feel there's too much of tinkering around. I can't remember an Indian team who have changed their team so often every game. I mean, I can understand one or two here and there, but in a series, 3, 4 changes in every game. What is Ishan Kishan thinking now? What is his mindset now? If I fail one more game, is that it? What is Shikhar Dhawan thinking, who did really well in South Africa? So I'm sure there's enough clarity with Rahul and Rohit there. It's just that from the outside, it just seems that you know Rishabh Pant has never opened in any cricket. KL Rahul has never batted in the middle in any cricket, be it Karnataka, be it India A, be it India, be it IPL. So right now it's unknown territory. And in the beginning, KL Rahul was all at sea. He was very scratchy. He dropped early on. He was four batting of 17 or 19 balls at one point in time. And a more disciplined bowling will actually stifle you even more. This is all about what you're used to. It's not about not knowing how to bat. Usually, KL Rahul in the 17th over will be batting on 45. Here he's batting on zero. The power play, the new ball coming onto the bat. So, like it's difficult to play the new ball, for these guys it's also easy because they do it all their life. And also, there are a lot of easy runs in the power play because in the power play, when you bowl loose deliveries, it's easy to put them away. So most players that I know personally who batted in the middle hate batting, who've batted in the top, especially in white ball cricket, who have
Yeah.
availed those 10 overs of power play. They just hate batting in the middle. We've tried that with our state players, and Riddhiman has batted at the top, and we were one playing well. So he wanted to bat 4 and 5. That was a big mistake. We went back to open. It's just his mindset, just what he's used to. You could just feel that he's a fish out of water.
No, well said. And I think, it's good that you're taking this a bit of a circumspect perspective that yes, we have won, but I think it's all about, preparing for that big bilateral tournament. I think overall, and I think this is now showing that I think, yes, we have won in patches. Of course, I don't think we should be gloating when we are winning against West Indies, that too at home. I think it's
Mm.
still, the South Africa series and the other tough opponents that's where it'll count. But I think there are a couple of themes that's emerging, and you touched on one of them. That I think now we probably have half a dozen players who I think we have probably sent confusing signals. We spoke about Venkatesh here in the morning. I'm not sure about what the Prithvi Shaws and the Shubman Gills think. Notwithstanding injury, do they have space? Shikhar Dhawan, is there clarity? Now there is Ishan, there is Rishabh now, and there is Deepak. But I mean, there are just, if we had a series in Sri Lanka where Sanju came in, there is Padikkal. I mean, there is a lot of talent, but I think we're once again muddling our thoughts. At least that's what, as you said, appears from the outside. There must be a plan, and I genuinely hope there is because. And I'm going to come to this the other topic on ODIs in general very soon. But that's I think one lacuna of this as to clarity. What's the game plan as we head towards the World Cup? The other is, I think, we should also talk about this ODI as a format. And today I was just glancing through Twitter, and there was, I mean, yes, it's this middle format between T20 and Tests. There was a very beautiful comment from someone who said, "Look, I'm a '90s kid, and I could relate to it." Someone born in '80s. That I used to love this format. This was the format. I grew up watching some wonderful cricket, right from the Sachins to Ganggulis to Bevans to who not. But now even people who loved ODIs are beginning to struggle, and you see this in the Indian format that clearly there's a plan that BCCI is not putting in enough emphasis on this. If you look at even our bowling record, I think we probably there's a stat which says that our economy rate as a bowling unit, which is doing so well in tests, has done well in T20s. Somehow, in many ways, do you agree or do you feel that ODI is kind of at the fag end of its life, and countries like India are not necessarily hence giving it too much emphasis and focus?
No, I don't think so. I think it's lost its place. There's no doubt about it, but it's obviously there to stay. As far as BCCI is concerned, they take the Vijay Hazare very seriously. Number one. Number two is you spoke about the economy in bowling with the red ball and the white ball. That's going to happen because with the red ball we play on absolutely green wickets, on wickets where you're trying to get 20 wickets. White ball and the red ball are as different as chalk and cheese, although they're both cricket balls. Okay, apple and oranges are both round, but they're different, right? So similarly,
Right.
they're different fruits. So they've got so. I mean, this is the question I get asked the most when at a dinner I say, "Oh, he's a really good red ball player. He's a really good red ball bowler." Dude, ball is ball. I say it's not. It really isn't. The red ball and the pink ball are in one bracket, and the white ball is completely different because the balls don't swing so much. There are two balls in play. It's a lot harder. So this I mean, I can't imagine in any sport. I know the clay court and the grass court and the hard court in tennis, but I can't. That's the pitch bit. But the tennis balls are the same.
Yeah.
But here, a ball, a Kookaburra ball, a Duke's ball, an SG Test ball, red one, a Kookaburra white ball is all over the world. But as far as
Yeah.
the red ball is concerned, it's SG here, Duke's in England, Kookaburra in Australia. So it changes. So our white ball bowling is figures in. If you take any country, the white ball figures will never be as good as the red ball. You take a Jimmy Anderson, you take England, the white ball figures because that's the template of the game. It's a 320 game. When it's 50 overs 320 game, you're obviously not going to have anybody's economy at 2.8. So it's a different game altogether. But coming back to your point about the one days, I think it's very important for the one day to for BCCI and more than BCCI, I think it's ICC to say that every country has to play 41 days a year or 31 days a year and
Right.
12 T20s a year and 15 test matches a year. That's a prerequisite. You can go above that, but you can't go below that. What that will do for you is that will make sure that you play. We wake up when the World Cup comes, okay? And there's an
Yeah.
influx of T20 leagues all over the world. So, and we are seeing all of them. We see the IPL, we see the Big Bash, we see the Pakistan Super League, we see the Bangladesh Premier League, we're seeing everything. We see the 100 in England. So we're seeing all of that, okay? So I think 50 over cricket, even as a cricket, somebody is really involved with cricket on the field, it does get you after 2020, especially in the local calendar. It comes after the Mustaq Ali. So
Yeah.
you play a 2020 and then you play a 100 over game. So the dynamics change totally. And
And
there,
that's a
a lot of the 4-day players come back into the fray because everything is going towards T20 now. All the players want to get into IPL teams. They're even going and trying to bat at 120 strike rate in the Vijay Hazare, trying to impress the scouts.
yeah.
And the scouts are not only there in Mushtaq Ali, the scouts are there in Vijay Hazare. Of all the 10 franchises, scouts were there in Vijay Hazare also. So they're looking for
Right.
that 40 ball 60. And if they're looking for the 40 ball 60 and that's going to get you a 3 crore contract, then I'm going to be up for it. But is that detrimental for your team? Because your team needs you to get a 60 ball 40.
That's right. No, that's a good point. So now you've given a wonderful template of the ratio of ODIs to T20s to Test match. Now that automatically will bring in the question of workload management. Now, from a perspective of Indian cricket, and I'm going to take this question. Shivam has this question about Deepak Chahar versus Shardul Huda, etc. The fact that a country like India, and I presume this is true for England, Australia, maybe Pakistan as well, there is ample talent. So should Do you foresee that if your template is kind of implemented, something of that sort, we will be looking at, we would have no choice but to look at different units, different teams for different formats?
That's what England is doing. There are about 3 or 4 players that fit it,
Yeah.
but they have 19 top counties. We have about 6 or 8 top states. If you see, there are 38 teams that play the Ranji Trophy, but it's only the top 10 that you pick the players from. There'll be one odd guy from a Kerala or an odd guy from a Jammu and Kashmir. But by and large, it's Delhi, Karnataka, Bengal, Bombay, Hyderabad. So there are about 10 teams, Punjab, where they all come from. So, having said that, it's very important for Rahul and Rohit Sharma and the BCCI selectors and the BCCI think tank to be able to have enough players. That's probably one of the reasons why we are seeing 20 people play 3 games. They're trying to
Yeah.
make the pool bigger, you know, they're trying to make the pool bigger. So when England plays, so is Ben Stokes is playing 3 versions, so he's like gold dust. How do we treat him like a baby wrapped in cotton wool? Because he's playing 3 versions. But Matthew
Yeah.
Wood comes, floats in, out. Somebody else comes, floats in and out. Moeen Ali out of Test match, he's playing. So it's a real task and a half to remember who's playing what and who's out of what. So that is something every country is going to go towards. Any country that plays as much as cricket as we do, England does. England play a lot of Test matches. They take a lot of pride in playing a lot of Test matches. But since they've won the World Cup, you
Yeah.
can see the change, which is why the results are in front of them. I remember having a chat with Owen Morgan at KK a few years back that England always was all about Test cricket and one-day cricket and T20 and everything was second fiddle. But in Test matches, they're not up there. They've just lost in Ashes. Suddenly, they won a World Cup. So now everything has gone towards T20, and they've won a T20 World Cup and they've won a
I know.
50 over World Cup now. So that's the reason why they now feel rejuvenated, and that's the way to go, which is why the Test cricket is taking a beating. Because
That's
the
a very
county
good
cricket
point.
standards
And
are not county cricket
yeah,
standards are not that strong anymore. The overseas players are not that standard anymore. Because today, with so much of international cricket, so much of T20 cricket, no good bowler wants to go and play in England for 6 months.
yeah.
So Zaid Khan, Wasim Akram, Wakar Yunus, Curtly Ambrose, Andy Roberts, nobody. If you ask Jasprit Bumrah to go and play, okay, the best contract is what, £150,000. He'll say, make that per game for Mumbai.
Spot on. And I think, talking about selections and England, I mean, you're right. I mean, you just look at today the selections, Strauss and Collingwood, etc. They've made a pretty big change. Where again, I'm not sure how fair it is to kind of take two strike major bowlers out when the batsman failed. And again, interesting to see that these two will be available for the big IPL auction, which Ref Sports will obviously cover all through. But it's an interesting point that you make, that I probably at some point in time, either the commercials which will dictate, and hence maybe the pool of players will increase, workload will need to be managed. It's I mean and I think, again, from a fan perspective, from a commercials perspective, it's important to, I suppose, as they say, to learn, unlearn, relearn, and you need to figure out what will keep each format rejuvenated and alive on its own merit. Because today, I think the economics clearly shows that T20 is kind of, I mean, Test cricket and ODI is kind of, living on the crutches of T20, and we only wake up to it when we are close to a World Cup. Let's quickly move to, you spoke about Dravid and Rohit. I've been quite, it's early days, but Rohit Sharma has proven his mettle as a Mumbai Indians captain earlier. The last 5 games, ever since he's taken on captaincy, he's won. I love the way even the DRS thing managed. What's impressed you in general about Rohit Sharma, the international captain for Team India?
I think he's sharp. He's on the money. Today, he started with Shardul Thakur because he swings the ball. And Prasidh Krishna has this reputation of leaking runs in the beginning. So he didn't want to open up the game. He gave Shardul the new ball. The moment in 2 overs, the wicket didn't happen, he got Prasidh back. Because Prasidh, this wicket had a bit of juice on it. There was bounce, there was carry, and he got Prasidh. And we all know what Prasidh did. So what I'm trying to say is he didn't sit on it. He doesn't wait for things to happen. Captains sometimes wait for things to happen. The good captains make it happen. And not always does it work. Not always does it work, but most of the times it works. So just to say, Saurav Ganguly declaring that day in England,
Yeah.
at Eden Gardens in the historic Test match,
Yes.
his father sent him a chit through one of the attendants saying that why is he not declaring? Now, in the declaration, if this pair had batted for another hour and the Test match would have been drawn, every result has to fall in place for you to become a good captain. But are you making the changes? Today it was superb to watch Shardul with the new ball because it didn't have 320. If he had had
Yeah.
320, he would have gone with Prasidh. So runs were, Shardul is accurate, seams the ball. 2 overs, no impact, straight away. This guy, bounce, carry, hard ball, get it going. If that didn't have, he had another plan. You probably would have got Chahal inside the power play. So his mind is sticky. His range as a skipper. You know, a skipper is like the head of the family, a big family, 4 children, 4 sons, their wives, daughter. He's the head. He's the grandfather. He thinks for everybody. So you need a guy who's really wide-eyed and not afraid to make the changes, not worried about what the press is going to write or what that one's going to think or what the commentators are saying. He's going to go with his gut, and you need a bit of confidence and to be your own man to be able to do it. Dhoni, Saurav, all the great captains of India have never worried about the downside of that decision. You know,
So there's a lot
if it
of
happens,
gut
it
feeling,
happens.
lot of conviction.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
what they kind of drive that. Now,
yeah.
and that's an interesting one. You know, you spoke about Ganguly. Obviously, I mean, clearly he was vocal. He was leading from the front. You know, Dhoni had a slightly different in terms of temperament, probably quiet behind the scenes. Kohli was obviously he
But
wore his heart on his
very
sleeve.
similar. Dhoni and
Yeah,
Saurav very similar. Otherwise, in their thinking, the way
thinking.
they interacted might have been different. So in England, when we lost the first test at Lords, and drew the second one, went to Leeds on that really cold, blistery morning, Saurav won the toss and elected to bat. I was there that day, and when Sehwag got on the slips to caddy, I thought this is a 120 all-out day. But Sanjay Bangar and Rahul Dravid batted for the whole day. I think that's the best 100 of Rahul Dravid that I have ever seen. And got hit by Tudor on his chest 2 balls in a row, and Lepus ran in the physio, and we looked dead and gone. Next day the sun came out. Rahul got the one of the best hundreds I've seen. Bangar got an invaluable 68. Saurav got 100. Sachin got 190. We got 500. Bowled them out twice. There was Kumble. And now, if we had been 128 all out, Saurav might have really taken a lot of flack. But he went with his gut, and then of course everything pans out in your favor. That's always there.
And do you, and I want to get to that point of leadership because, Rohit is, as far as international cricket is concerned, is just beginning. What should he do or not do in terms, to carve out his own identity? Because he's taking over from Kohli, where he has a particular brand of, aggressive brand of leadership. Test cricket has done a magical job, but, on ODI and T20, we haven't won. So what should his approach be and to kind of carve out his own niche? And the sub question to that is, to what you just mentioned, the reason Sauravs and Dhoni succeeded is how much of, in cricket, how much of the captaincy or how much of the success can be attributed to pre-match decisions and preparations versus, taking calls on your feet on the day. So again, really about what should Rohit's approach be to carve out his niche since he's taking over from Kohli, who has had success in one format, but not so much from a tournament perspective. What would your advice be to someone like Rohit Sharma?
So I don't know Rohit really well beyond a hello and how are you, but I hear there's a really chilled out guy and he's open to everything. So I think also the success that he's had in Mumbai Indians and the success he's having as a player in red ball and white ball cricket has taken him to a level where he's in a very happy place. He's a very good family with him, quiet. He's very close friends. He gets along with everybody. So that's the sort of guy you would really want leading the team. You don't want somebody approachable. You don't want somebody where you have to think twice. Oh, am I going to go and speak to the skipper? Or maybe not. Maybe what sort of mood is he in? So a guy like that is what you want as a captain, and also his nature helps him develop. See, you don't win 5 IPLs just by having a good team.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been a lot of good teams, and there is a lot of captaincy in it. So some people they're good captains. Rohit looks very chilled out, but I think he's a really good captain. And the reason I think also Virat's captaincy has come to an end is because Rohit is there. If Rohit wasn't there, if there was another, any other guy who with lesser capability, you could say he might as well go on. But with Rohit there, the amount of success he's had and the player he deserves a crack at the cherry.
And kudos to him. He's had a great start, and obviously it's good to know that he has someone like, he has a very good support structure, whether it's Paras, whether it's Rahul Dravid, etc. So I
Yeah.
think that's going to hold in good stead. Now, quickly coming back to the match and the series at hand. Let's talk about Prasid. You have made a wonderful point in the afternoon that you called out that there is so much merit in kind of backing young players. You're also seeing, so Prasid, we'll talk about him. You're also seeing the comeback of Yuvraj. I sorry, not Yuvraj, Chahal, Yuzvendra Chahal, in terms of suddenly there is a little bit of a zing. There's confidence. Washi is doing well now in terms of this bowling unit. These youngsters. We know that now that you've won the series again with this experimentation mindset, maybe there is a chance that a couple of different players bowl in the next match. Where and again, when an important series comes, our key bowlers come back. What's the approach of Rohit and the supports team structure? How do we kind of ensure that the bench remains warm, that the Prasidh Krishnas now, who's probably going to, you use the word, they'll start sensing that they kind of belong here. Because, I read somewhere that this is the second most economical spell in this century for an Indian bowler after Srinath. I mean, the figures were amazing. He bowled well, the lengths were beautiful. But what happens after this series? How does NCA or BCCI ensure that we keep these guys in the mix?
So, right now there are about 10, 12 teams that play international cricket, but there's clearly the top five and the bottom five. Okay. And we are
Yeah.
playing the bottom five. So, this is not a real test. So once we play in England and Australia or South Africa, which we just played, even a Pakistan, that's when the real test is. Because I honestly feel that India got 239 against these four countries, they would have lost this game 10 times out of 10 times. Okay.
Easily.
So, yeah. So my point is that Rohit also is very happy with the win in the series and everything and smiling, but he knows there's a lot of work to be done on the batting front, especially because we didn't bat well in the first. We bowled superbly in the first game, but did not bat that well. Today we bowled very well, but we are also bowling two West Indies. Today, if you see some of the dismissals, even in our batting, Rohit played a loose one. Rishabh Pant was very loose. If you talk about even the others who came at number 3, at number 4, again, why do you and I harp about Surya? He knows how to milk it. I was texting you, I was WhatsApping you saying that this is milking.
Yeah.
He was just milking it. And if he gets 100, he's a guy who could end his career with 10 hundreds. Because he's what, 30, 31, so maybe 5, 7 years, he could finish up with 10 one-day hundreds. Because the amount of range he has as a player, his hands, when you play in the middle, when you play up front, everything is blocked out, so your template, you're going to go over the top, or the short ball, you pull it. But when there are 5 fielders inside the circle, a ball which is an off stump, for you to go and play that left of cover, right of cover, left of point is all about how good your hands are. How good your hands are when the ball hits the bat. That is Surya's asset. He's got outstanding hands.
No, when you were... Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I remember playing a game against Mohammad Azharuddin back in the day, and we were playing on a turning track. Left arm spinner was bowling, so we had four inside the circle in the offside, because it is impossible to play a ball to Utpal Chatterjee, who's got 500 wickets in first-class cricket, to the onside. Even if the back foot people couldn't play. That's how bad the wicket was in Vijayawada. Right. He on the front foot was playing all 6 balls to the onside. And we're like, what's going on here? Okay, then we got 2 guys to the onside, and then he was playing 5 to 6 balls to the offside. So he was just playing the ball at contact point. He was doing either this is going there, then he's doing this, going there. That's what Surya has. That's why he picks gaps so easily. Whereas some are regimented, they'll just go talk to the fielder, but he'll just go and do this at the last minute, do something with the bottom hand. So that is the reason why Surya can milk. To be able to milk, you need these things.
No, absolutely. When you were texting me, I mean, he's played the last 6 games, he scored 30 plus, fairly consistently with some 50s and 60s. And, the beauty was the contrast in that middle period when you were texting me, Surya versus KL. You could see that difference. And I'm not, KL, obviously, we know is a fantastic batsman, but it's a huge range difference at that number 4, number 5 level when the ball's not coming, and I must give credit to the West Indian bowlers. I think they were so disciplined, whether it was Smith, whether it was Joseph, Holder, obviously we spoke a lot about, and you could see that, KL clearly is used to the ball coming to him and, him finding gaps or lofting. But Surya...
Also him being 40 batting then and not 11.
That's right.
When you're 40
Huge
batting,
difference.
you're in flow. You're
Yeah,
in your flow. When you're 11, you try to find your flow, and you think, oh gosh, it's 27th over. Usually, I'm 61 batting at this time.
that's right.
Just a question of belonging. In football, the striker has his job, the halves have their job, the backs have their job. Here, everybody has a role. There are some who can play anywhere. I've heard Ferguson say Scholes could play anywhere. So Surya can play anywhere. That's the range he has. But even now, I can't imagine Tendulkar, Ganguly getting out in the 60s. They'll get 100 and come back. So he still
Yeah,
hasn't learned that formula of milking and getting the 100. Today, he gave it away. Tendulkar, Ganguly would never hit the ball up in the air. That's why they've got, I don't know, 50 and 2400s or whatever. Because they will never hit the ball in the air when they don't need to. There's so much of game left. This is what they're learning, and this is the downsize of T20.
yeah.
Because you feel I
I
can
was
clear this. Yeah.
I was about to ask you that, where is that difference? There has to be a reason why the Sachin, Sangakaras, Dravids, Lakshmans. I mean, I know even in growing up in Pune, Mumbai, we used to always hear that that whole Kadus move, way of playing, that you
Yeah.
just have to put a price. Now I understand we are operating in a very different world, and you
Yeah,
spoke
the world
about
has
scoring
changed. Yes.
60 out of 40. But is this something? I mean, when you're playing for a nation, it's different. I mean, or is it too late to to coach Surya into a different mold because he's playing multi-format? And do we have to be okay with that 60, 70? What needs to change to get to
No,
that
for him,
next
it's the
level?
mindset. His mindset. Rahul Dravid is to sit him down and say, when you're 60 batting with 19 overs to go, think you're 10 batting. Think we need to, we're in trouble. Think we're not four down, we're seven down. It's a
Right.
mindset issue because he's now thinking he can do things and the match is in control. It's not. And it's for his own good. If he had got 100, we'd be 300 easily, even more. And again, I was texting some very important people in Indian cricket and I was saying, how often do you see? I've seen Ashwin bat in the 30th over in South Africa. Today I saw Chahal bat. Today I saw Shardul Thakur bat in the 41st over. When did you see Anil Kumble and Harbhajan Singh batting in the 30th, in the 41st over when it was Sehwag, Tendulkar, Ganguly, Yuvraj, Dravid, Kef in that team? How often do you see these guys bat? They would bat
Hardly.
once every 10 games. That also the 40th game, 48th over. In the 30th over, when did you see Ajit Agarkar bat? Never. Because they knew how to carry the game. They knew how to make it, in Madan language, the game ko chota karo. That means get close. Get to the 45th over. We'll take it up from there.
And you're right. I mean, it's not a one-off. This has become a symptom of Indian ODI cricket. We're kind of, even today, just the way India suddenly, after the nice middle period, suddenly we kind of crashed. And, I had taken a little bit of a break. I thought we'll easily get to 280, 290. And I switch on and I'm like, oh God, it's Siraj playing. And it's suddenly Chahal hitting a straight boundary.
This India team
That's
will
a
not take off. That's the good thing. You have to be. This India team will make sure that you have to be glued onto your TV. You take off for a while. That's a nice one you say. Back in the day, you could take off. It's like
Yes,
one of those serials. When you miss a couple of episodes, no problem. You
doesn't
know
matter.
what's going to happen. Yeah, you know what's going to happen. Even if one or two wickets fall, the next guy will come and hold fort. But next guy won't come and lift a ball and get out. Even today, when you saw when Huda got out, can't get out like that with 7 overs to go. 7
I know
overs,
it.
42 balls. You can't do that. They'll learn. They'll
Yeah,
learn. All a learning
they'll
curve.
learn, absolutely. All
It's
right, we're
actually
the
gotten
fag
confusing,
end.
confusing for them with T20 coming. It's
Yeah, like
gotten
what do you
confusing
do?
for them. Yeah, if there was no T20, they wouldn't be playing this shot. But they played this in T20 and suddenly they're playing it now. So it's just a question of. So that's why I said it's a mindset issue. It's not a technique or anything.
Yeah.
Just planning and mindset, and that's easy to inculcate into your game.
All right. Now, some wonderful discussions about just the format, leadership, and overall Team India's strategy going ahead into the tournament. And we had some wonderful anecdotes about Azharuddin Utpal Chatterjee. In fact, soon we should do a show around the domestic cricket with Ranji coming back, and obviously with your rich experience both as a player and administrator. One last question before we end the day is there's some wonderful questions from Meet Soni and a few others about the team structure. One ODI left before the T20 series starts. What's your 11 going to be now that we have secured the series?
I don't think Rohit Sharma and Rahul Dravid know also. So impossible for you and I to answer that. But it's good to see that
Yup.
Dhawan will come back. And obviously,
Yeah.
they're trying combinations out. They're seeing it's good to see that Dhawan is not out of the mix because he's somebody who's got a bit of a raw deal, in my humble opinion. Every time he's won us ICC trophies. He's won us the tournament in England with the bat. It's phenomenal. So players who won you tournaments, big players, treat them with respect. Even when you can't play them, even when it's time for them to go, respect is mandatory. There's no compromise on that.
Oh, well said. Now, thank you so much for everyone for watching. It's late in the
Pleasure.
evening, but glad we've secured the series. Joydeep, thanks so much for joining us with such enriching anecdotes. We'll catch you again before the next game. Thank you. Have a wonderful break. Thank you.